The Secret Door Network. Book 1, The Quiet Door. Chapter 19, Race to the Door. The old train station loomed in front of them, its once grand arches now crumbling and overgrown with vines. The building had been abandoned for years, a relic of the city's past. But tonight it felt charged with an eerie sense of purpose. Lina, May, and Violet stood at the entrance, the fading light casting long shadows across the cracked pavement. "This is the place," Lina said, holding up the notebook with the decoded map. "The next door is inside." May and Violet exchanged a quick glance. "And someone else is looking for it too," May reminded them, her voice tense. "We need to be careful." Violet nodded, her eyes scanning the empty station. "Whoever they are, we can't let them get to the door first." The three women moved cautiously into the station, the sound of their footsteps echoing through the vast, empty space. The place was a maze of old platforms and rusted rails, with staircases leading down into tunnels that hadn't seen life in decades. Lina kept the notebook open, tracing their path on the map. According to this, the door should be somewhere near the central platform. May pointed toward a staircase. "That should lead us there." They descended the stairs into the bowels of the station, the air growing cooler and more oppressive as they went deeper underground. Their nerves were on edge, and every sound seemed amplified. The creak of a door, the distant hum of the city above, the rustle of paper as Lina flipped through the notebook. "Do you think 1-800-5194 is still watching us?" Violet asked quietly, her eyes darting around the dimly lit corridor. Lina nodded. "He hasn't let us down yet. He's always watching." May chuckled nervously. "That's not exactly comforting." As they reached the bottom of the staircase, the passage opened up into a wide, empty platform. Faded posters still clung to the walls, remnants of the station's former glory, and the tracks were covered in debris and dust. But in the center of the platform, something stood out, a section of the wall that looked newer, untouched by time. "That has to be it," Lina said, pointing toward the wall. They moved toward the spot, their pace quickening. As they approached, Lina noticed the familiar symbol, the same one they had found at the other locations, etched faintly into the brickwork. "This is the door," Lina whispered, her hand running over the symbol. But before they could take another step, the sound of footsteps echoed behind them. They froze, turning slowly. In the dim light of the station, figures appeared. Two men, their faces obscured by the shadows, moving toward them with purpose. "Looks like we're not alone," Violet said, her voice low and tense. The men stopped a few yards away, their eyes locked on the women. One of them spoke, his voice calm but filled with a quiet authority. "You're too late. This door belongs to us." Lina's heart raced, but she stood her ground. "We've been following the clues for months. This door is part of the network we've been building. You have no right to it." The man smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. "This game isn't just for you. There are others involved, whether you knew it or not." May stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. "Who are you? What do you want?" The second man, who had remained silent until now, crossed his arms. "We're players, just like you, except we've been watching from the sidelines. And now it's our turn." Violet narrowed her eyes. "You've been following us?" The first man shrugged. "We've been following the network. It's been expanding beyond your control, whether you realized it or not. 1-800-5194 doesn't just play with you." Lina's mind raced. How many others had been pulled into the game? And why hadn't 1-800-5194 warned them that other players were involved? Or had he? The men stepped forward, clearly intent on reaching the door first, but Lina wasn't about to let them take control. She moved quickly, pressing her hand against the symbol on the wall. The brick shifted beneath her touch, revealing a hidden panel. "We're not letting you take this," Lina said, her voice firm. The men stopped, clearly surprised by her quick move, but the tension in the air remained thick. "Do you even know what's behind that door?" the first man asked, his tone mocking. "Or are you just following orders?" Lina glanced at May and Violet, their determination reflected in her own eyes. "We're doing what we've always done, solving the puzzle, unlocking the door. But this time, we're not following anyone's orders, not even his." With that, Lina pushed the panel and the door clicked open, revealing a narrow passageway that descended further underground. The air inside was cool and still, like a secret that had been waiting to be uncovered for years. The men exchanged a quick glance, clearly unsure of what to do next. But Lina, May, and Violet had made their choice. They weren't backing down. "We're going through," May said, her voice unwavering. "And if you want to stop us, you'll have to do more than follow us around." Violet grinned, stepping toward the open door. "Let's see if you can keep up." Without another word, the three women stepped into the passageway, the door closing behind them with a soft thud. The men didn't follow, but Lina knew this wasn't the last they'd see of them. The passage was narrow, the walls damp with moisture and lined with old, crumbling stone. The air was heavy, and the only sound was the faint echo of their footsteps as they moved deeper underground. "Who do you think they were?" Violet asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Lina shook her head. "I don't know, but if they're playing the same game, we need to stay ahead of them." May's voice was steady, though her expression was tight with focus. "We will. We've been solving these puzzles for too long to lose now." The passage opened up into a small chamber, that dimly lit by a single light bulb hanging from the ceiling. In the center of the room was another pedestal, identical to the one they had found before. And resting on top of it was another leather-bound notebook, this one older and more worn. Lina approached it cautiously, her heart pounding in her chest. She picked up the notebook, opening it to the first page. The handwriting was the same as before, 1-800-5194. But this time, the message was different. "Shh, you've found the second door, but the game isn't about doors anymore. It's about players. Be careful who you trust." Violet frowned as she read the message over Lina's shoulder. Players? Does that mean there are more people like those guys out there? May nodded slowly, and they're not playing by the same rules. Lina closed the notebook, her mind racing. The game had shifted again. It wasn't just about solving riddles or finding hidden doors anymore. It was about navigating the network of players, some of whom might not be allies. "We have to be careful," Lina said, her voice steady. "But we're not backing down." They had opened the second door, but the path ahead was more dangerous than they had imagined. And as they left the chamber, the words of 1-800-5194 echoed in their minds. The game wasn't about doors anymore. It was about survival.